Welcome to the Protege Challenge 3 episode. And if you followed us in the first season, you realize that at some point, people have to be booted. We have been going at such a torrid pace, and we've really tried to control the length of the episodes this season, so it's been difficult to just find room to do the cuts. And honestly, some people have just voluntarily resigned from the show due to scheduling conflicts or just not really being in their element. So I'm sorry to say that we've lost Annabelle, we've lost Ryan, we've lost Sarah Rice, and we've lost Crystal Decker. None of these people were cut. There's no negative around why they're not here. It just didn't work out, and I get it. That's just what happens. And I mean, we had more people drop this year than last year because, well, we had more finalists this year than last year. So as you go into Challenge 3, if you don't see anything from any of those four, you understand why. I hope you enjoy this episode. This challenge is my favorite so far. What's up, everybody? No rest for the weary. Just like real life, it's going in a completely different direction this week. You just got a call from one of your clients that are inside of your targeted vertical markets. I don't care which one, any of them. And you just found out that their annual conference is going to be held less than an hour from your office. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to talk about your strategy for how you're going to handle their conference and trade show, and equally as important, how that is going to integrate with the digital strategy you laid out in Challenge 2. So you have 2 weeks from yesterday to get this in. You can give me as much or as little detail as you want. Don't kill yourself putting a ton of detail in, but give me enough to show me that this is something that you've thought through and that you can execute in real life to drive business from trade shows and conferences inside of your target markets. Till next time, it's kill or be killed.
Emails will be sent to all registered attendees, plus my ideal clients in that market. My goal for the first email is to get them excited about the trade show, encourage them to stop by our booth by letting them know about the fabulous 43-inch smart TV we are raffling. Make sure they know our booth location, and let them know that we'll be providing a free, customized cyber vulnerability report for every business that stops by our booth that day. Cyber breach occurrences are all over the news and social media. What many businesses typically don't know is how to measure their vulnerability and what steps they can take to minimize their risk. We'll also encourage them to invite team members and other businesses who may benefit from attending. The second email will let them know we will be presenting educational seminars and giving away some swag to everyone just for attending, as well as letting them know how to register. The third email will be sent about 2 days before the event, letting them know how excited we are to see them, and it will also serve as the reminder of the information in the first two emails.
I got to tell you, Karen, this is the best work product that you have put together so far. It's also obvious to me that you've been talking to Josh Gurley and taking your coach's advice because you were getting some really good advice from them. I think that overall you did an outstanding job. You touched on the LinkedIn connection, which nobody to this point has done. I think that that's important. There are a few, I mean, there's so much good in there. I hate to even give you criticism, but I'm going to give you constructive feedback, because I do think there are a few tweaks that you can make to take this thing to another level than where it is right now. And so for Protege purposes, knocked it out of the park. For real world, I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions. Number one, I love the idea of the vulnerability assessment. I think it's great. You do not need to get them to come to your booth to give you the information, to do the assessment, and then turn around and go back to them. I would use that as a way to drive them to your booth. What I mean by that is, if you engage with someone like my good friend Brian Thornton at Pro Writers, you can run the quotes and the vulnerability assessments on everybody coming to the show based on the information that you have from the attendee list. Then you can craft your email to say your company is at risk, your cyber score is X. Come by our booth to get a full copy of the report that we have run. You're going to get almost everybody there if you do that. And you've done it ahead of time. You don't have to worry about fumbling through it after the fact and then going and delivering it or emailing it or whatever else. I understand the desire to have another touch point, but you can do all of that stuff through automation and drip emails after the conference is over. I think you have the vulnerability assessment, the pricing comparison, or the pricing indications, and the coverage comparison done in a folder by company with something about streamlined business solutions, but using their name in the marketing slick on one side, cyber stuff on the other, fold it up, put a sticky note on the outside, or however you're going to do it, put them in there alphabetically, and as the people come up, you hand them their folder with their information and talk through it.
So I started with outlining some plans and goals for the show. And of course, number one is to identify and hopefully qualify some new potential prospects for the Contractors Resource Center. Also, being able to volunteer at the booth, being able to meet other NARI members was a great opportunity as well. And then to be able to go out and meet other builders and contractors at the show were some of the specific goals I had. I was excited about what I put together here versus going and setting up a booth and being behind the table and being concerned about attracting people to me and having compelling enough attraction of my booth where people would come. So this is our first day at the NARI booth. I volunteered there for half a day. Great opportunity to meet contractors that were coming that wanted to know about the Remodeling Association. I had my Contractors Resource Center polo shirt on, so that opened up conversations. People wanted to know about my business. So that was definitely a great opportunity to volunteer and work at the Remodeling Association booth.
You are a really genius marketer. You know, you took, I don't know what to say, that you took a gamble. You took what the instructions were and you found a way to find a creative solution inside a challenge that nobody else has found to this point. Nowhere in the challenge did I say you had to have a booth. Nowhere in the challenge did I say what you had to do, and what you put together and how you chronicled your use of photos in social media is a masterclass for an alternative to the traditional approach to a trade show. I will be very interested to see in the coming months how much business you're able to write from those 37 contacts, even if it's only one or two. And the reason why is, if you had the booth and you had all the methodologies around that, you definitely would have opportunities. But I'm really beginning to wonder if your way isn't going to actually be a more profitable way. Where I would be concerned is in the volume of opportunities versus a more traditional approach of actually, sponsoring something, doing educational seminars and all of that. But I'm going to give you kudos, man. I'm putting you in the top this week. You went in a direction that I wasn't expecting. I'm a marketing soul, at heart. And you really challenged me to think, man. And that's not something that I'm used to in these challenges. But I really, really appreciate the approach.
The first thing you need to do is you need to ask the conference for an attendee list. Get that. That's going to be your lifeline, because that's going to allow you to make all of your phone calls ahead of time. And it's going to allow you to put them into a shortened, maybe 6 weeks or more email drip campaign where you're presenting things to them on the front end. With that drip campaign, it can just be, hey, I'm going to be at the conference. We're going to be at this booth. Another thing I like to do is if it's in a cool city, I like to send out, hey, here are the top 5 things you can have for, top dinner places to eat at in this city, or top 5 desserts to have while you're in such and such place, or anything like that kind of gives them a different vibe of the city, or that may be about that conference and speak to that a little bit more. Calls, yes, you're just letting them know you're going to be there, but the other target of the phone call is, if you can, set up a meeting while you're at the conference. Say, hey, I'm going to be here at lunch. Do you think maybe you and I can sit at the same table and have a conversation? Or, hey, in between session 1 and session 2, maybe you and I can meet by the registration table and have a quick conversation there. If you can set up a meeting at the conference, you're already there in the same place, and you don't have to worry about somebody ghosting you on the back end, because now you've got the meeting while you're at the conference.
You went into a lot of detail, and you did a great job doing it. There's some things I'm going to give you as some constructive feedback, but for all practical purposes, you nailed the challenge. I really, really liked what your marketing idea was about sending out information about the city ahead of time, like the top 5 restaurants or desserts or whatever. That is always awesome content because it drives traffic. People are going to click on that. So you don't even have to make it about insurance. That's actually relevant to their life and something that they are interested in. So if you can get them to your domain by clicking on a blog post about the top 5 hamburgers in Chicago or whatever, you're doing exactly what you're trying to do with paid Google ads. You're just not paying Google to advertise, right? The only other thing that I would say from a criticism standpoint, there's 2 things. Number one, I didn't hear you say anything about offering any education or trying to get up and speak in front of anybody or try and get an article into the publications going out or anything like that. I think that's a missed opportunity. And, you referenced that you don't know that you'll have time, and hurry up really quick. Staff your booth right. Think about what your staffing needs are. I think that's one thing that a lot of people overlook is they don't remember how much staffing they really need to have. And if you're going to make the investment in people to be there as well. Overall, really, really good job. Very detailed. There's a little bit of constructive criticism in there, but as far as Protege purposes, I look at this 2 different ways. How is it for Protege? How is it in real life? For Protege purposes, you knocked it out of the park. Your first run was a really, really good job. For real life purposes, listen to my constructive criticism because those things will help you go a long way.
So I've got a before, during, and after. Before the conference starts, during the conference itself, and then after. So you've got trade shows and all these things for the during. Before is how are we going to market or at least let people know that we're there? How do we be memorable? So on the before side, I want to go ahead and get the speaker details and the conference details because I want to know who is the credible sources within the conference, because what I want to do is I want to reach out to those people on LinkedIn and schedule a time to actually do a podcast collaboration. By doing this, it's going to, one, create credibility for me and Blue Collar Blueprint, but also, give that person a little bit of edge on trying to get their speaking out to, whoever is at the conference itself. I'm going to try to get an attendee list and emails, and then through that, I'm going to go ahead and create some marketing details to let them know that I'm actually going to be interviewing the speakers at the conference live, and then hopefully have that scheduled out so that they have a good time to swing by the booth and maybe listen, to the live recording before we then publish it after the fact.
Listen, man, really, really good job on this one. I like what you did. You broke it down right. I like the creativity. I definitely see the fingerprints of Josh Gurley and Steven Sedlak on this thing, and maybe with the side of Hayden. Definitely can see things that you were influenced by them on from coaching and comments and all of that. So good for you for being coachable and taking advice from people who are really good at this kind of stuff. Not that you're not, but you're building something that's going to work for the rest of your life. And if you can draw off the experiences of the people who have been there, done that, you're just going to be that much better. I really like the idea of reaching out and collaborating with the speakers ahead of time. That is something nobody else brought up. And honestly, I don't know that I would have thought of it. So, that's one that I wrote down and put in my back pocket, because I do think that it's a great idea if you can collaborate with them, record podcasts, get sound bites. It really turns into a huge marketing machine for you. Not only can you promote those people in their brands and the conference and the association that sponsored the conference, but you can take that long form content. You're going to have content for days, man. You could break that down into micro posts, Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, all of that stuff. I really like that idea a lot. If I was going to pick on you, or just to give you one piece of constructive criticism, what I really would like to have seen was a little more effort on the front end to use your existing clients to leverage introductions at the trade show, because I have to believe you have some existing clients that are going to be there too, not just prospects. But overall, man, fantastic job. Great presentation. This one definitely plays in the real world, man, and that's what the show is all about. Some people think it's just to have fun and be on YouTube. This is about changing your family tree for generations to come, and if you keep putting work product like this out, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Hello, this is Abby with Cross Insurance. How can I help you? Oh, hey, Sally. Wait, what? There's going to be a trucking conference an hour away from here? Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd love to be a part of it. Okay. Can I be the keynote speaker? No? All right. Who's going to be it then? David Carruthers. Of course. No, that's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to that. What about a breakout session then? Okay. Yes, absolutely. I'd love to do that. Abby Answers Truck Insurance. I'll send you the details. I'll include my landing page so that you can reference that. Advertise on the website. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'll be putting it on my landing page too. 100%. I'm really excited about my clients getting to participate too. What am I going to do? Well, drawings are always fun. And so absolutely, I'm going to get people excited about the drawing. And so probably I'm going to have a big old container, and it's of course going to be purple for Abby Answers since it's got to be branded. And I'll include a blanket, but I'm going to do probably an iPad, iPod, and then probably the headset that the truckers really like. Yeah, exactly. That way it's for on the road and then for downtime. Yep. Yeah, and I'll probably also do like a little stress ball, but instead I'll do a TV or something like that for Abby Answers for YouTube, because really the whole goal is going to be about building up the social media. So I'm going to make it so that we can kind of play along with that and the Abby Answers YouTube subscribers. Yeah. In fact, you know what? I'm going to put a QR code on my table. That way that people can take pictures of it. And then when they have their QR code, they can subscribe to it. That's going to be one of my goals. You betcha. Absolutely. Oh, no, of course. I will put it on my Facebook and on my LinkedIn. Yes. Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, I'm going to blow this thing up.
You nailed it. And I got to tell you, I'm a little bit embarrassed because I really needed to go read your document. I had a litany of notes of gaps that you had in your presentation on your absolutely creative call, which was great. But I didn't realize there was a PowerPoint in there. And so I went back and I read the PowerPoint, and you literally filled every gap except for one. But I can confidently say you're in the top this week. The one thing I was looking for, and look, I understand in your agency that you may or may not be involved with this. We talked about the fact, or you talked about the fact that you have HubSpot and that you were going to get to learn about how to use it more. That's what I was looking for. I really wanted to hear what you were going to do in a CRM and automations and things after the trade show, but you addressed it in another way. And you're going to be just fine. So I wish I could give you a ton of criticism, but instead I'm giving you a ton of pats on the back. You did a really good job. You need to be very proud of yourself. I can see that you're being coached and that you're coachable and that your coaches are giving you good advice, and you're taking that advice and you're responding. And it is going to pay huge dividends for you over the course of the rest of your career. Challenge 3 was actually a really, really good challenge. And it was interesting because I saw some of the people that have been front runners slip a little bit, and some of the people that have been in the middle of the pack really doubled down on this challenge and pushed themselves into the front. And in fact, you're seeing new faces in the top being featured this week. And it's not because of editing and me just making sure everybody gets seen. They deserve it. They earned it. This week's challenge was on trade shows and how you would prepare your marketing around them, your strategy, and how you were going to tie that in to the digital marketing strategy that we talked about back in challenge number 2. I was really looking for a few things in this, and I got to tell you, there were some people that went in a completely different direction, specifically Kevin, and he nailed it. I really liked Kevin's idea because it showed me he took the challenge and he made it into his own for what would work for him. He knew it was different. It was a risk, and it paid off really, really well for him. At its core, what I was looking for is what was going to happen before the trade show, what was going to happen during the trade show, and what was going to happen after the trade show. Those were the things that I needed to see so that I understood exactly what the thought process was for each one of the contestants. Now, inside of that, there were specific things that I wanted to find out, like pre-show, were you asking for a copy of the attendee list, and were you going to reach out to those people? Some people actually took the extra step of connecting on LinkedIn. Sean Kirby came up with a great idea to reach out to the speakers ahead of time, collaborate with them, record a podcast with them live at the event, and then use that to both market for the event and promote the brand of the speaker, in addition to getting credibility for himself. I thought that was an A+ idea. There was another great idea that must have come from one of the coaches, because I heard both Andy Warner and Jonathan Lugo say it, and it may have been my buddy Josh Gurley. That guy, you can't ever trust where he's coming from. He's hiding in the shadows all the time. But they talked about just bringing pizza and drinks for the other vendors so that when they're there setting up the booth, they can come over and hang out, grab something to drink, something to eat, and you can network with them. I really like that idea because it gets you a relationship with other people that are peripheral to the industry. And if you know anything about me, I'm probably looking at those other people to recruit them to bring them in as producers at Florida Risk. So great idea there. Great idea to get to know them, get to know their company, make their company a prospect, make their clients your prospects, and do the same. Learn about them. Be sincere. Listen to what they have to say, because you may have one of your clients that you can introduce to them and meet a need that makes you look good to your client, and it helps your new relationship with a vendor. Other things beforehand would be asking for opportunities to speak, helping promote the event through your own email distribution, or whatever else. During the event, I was looking for swag. What are you going to do for swag? What are you going to do to make yourself memorable? How are you going to be uncommon in a common environment? And swag does that for you. I was looking for whether or not you were going to have a big ticket type item. Not saying that you have to have a raffle, but I was looking to see, is there a big ticket item that's going to drive people to our booth? And if so, what is that? And what's the mechanism of delivery and all of that? I actually gave feedback in one of the sessions because my buddy Josh Gurley loves lightsabers. That's one of his favorite. But the person wanted to do a lightsaber duel. I believe that was Brian McCall wanted to do a lightsaber duel every 15 minutes at his booth. Well, that's a great idea, except I'm an insurance guy and risk manager, and I'm afraid that if you're swinging lightsabers every 15 minutes in a crowded trade show, something's going to happen. By far, the number one thing to give away at a trade show, and Karen Seifert nailed this, is consumer electronics. So my idea would be to have an Oculus VR player with the Beat Saber game, which ties into the lightsaber theme, and let people play that while they're at the booth. Let that be what drives them there. And then from that point, you can give away the lightsabers that go home to the kids, and everybody gets those. But then you raffle off an Oculus so that's the big ticket prize. Another thing that I saw that I really liked was Karen Seifert's idea about having a vulnerability assessment on cyber. I gave her some very specific feedback on how I would tweak what her idea was and actually run those vulnerability assessments, pricing indications, and coverage comparisons before the event, and then send an email out letting that prospect know that you had run this and their company's at risk, put the score in the subject, whatever else, and let them know that if they'd like to come by your booth, that you can give them the full report and they can see what it looks like. The other thing you could do is you could actually embed your calendar link into that email and say, look, if you want to schedule a time to talk sooner than the conference, or if you'd like to schedule a time while we're at the conference, or if you want to go ahead and schedule time to talk about this afterwards, throw it out there. If you put your calendar link in, the only thing that's going to happen is you might get somebody to book an appointment with you. It's not going to do you any damage to do that. Other things that needed to happen, during, and what I was looking for, actually sort of before / during, and this is one that one person got it. Jonathan Lugo got it. And that was existing clients. Listen, people, it's not just prospects at a trade show. If you're in an industry niche, your clients are going to be there too. Those are the best red hot introductions you can get. And I can't believe that only one person got that. I would be on the horn with my clients 100% of the time, finding out if they knew any of the people on my short hit list that they could personally walk over to my booth, introduce me to, or better yet, bring to a dinner that I'm willing to go to with 2 or 3 new prospects and maybe 1 or 2 clients. I would be remiss if I didn't mention John Lyon's idea that he had for pre-show planning, because I do feel like from a marketing standpoint, it was absolutely genius. And it goes back to some of the feedback like I gave Crystal Decker in week 2, but John was talking about doing blog posts and getting information out about the city where the event's going to be, like the top 5 cheeseburgers or whatever else. Awesome idea. I definitely think it would work. It would certainly drive traffic to your webpage, and then you could have other suggested content framed around that, and they can explore around and learn more about you. But the goal is just to get them into your ecosystem as quick as you can, and that's a great way for you to do that. After the conference, I was specifically looking for how people were going to manage things in their CRM. What were they going to do to reach out? How were they going to put together a nurture campaign? And what did all of that stuff look like? And I'd say we were 50-50 on that. Now, listen, if I was going to do a trade show, specifically what I would want to do is I would try my best to get a marketing list ahead of time. I like Karen's idea of the vulnerability assessment, and I probably would do something like that, or I would have a preset like 3 or 4 classes that were going to be 15 minutes each. One of the most successful trade shows I ever did was around a campaign called Wake Up and Smell the Coffee, Your Comp Rates Are Rising. And it was for the PEO industry at their national association meeting. I believe we were out in Scottsdale that year, out in the JW at Desert Ridge. And what we did was we knew the pain points, because that's all we did was PEO. We knew what some of the pain points were. One of them was foreign voluntary comp. That's something that not a lot of people talk about, but if you have government contractors and other things and people that have international business in your PEO, you need to know that, because your master workers comp policy is not going to cover it. So it was a very enticing topic, and we had 3 or 4 topics just like that. And I marketed them via email ahead of time with a sign up. If you were going to come, respond here. And I had it tied into Eventbrite. We created tickets to make it look really official. And when they got to the booth, we had some swag. I had a flat screen TV mounted in the back. We had a Keurig coffee machine. This is back when Keurigs were just coming onto the scene, and they were red hot. And we would make people a cup of coffee when they came, fresh coffee, so that they had their coffee during the coffee talk. And we raffled off a couple of Keurigs for participants in those coffee talks while they were there. I think we gave away a total of like 4 of them. And we had a really good turnout. But not only did we have a good turnout, it gave us an opportunity to meet a need that these people had and show our expertise in the industry. And we became memorable. We became memorable because we promised, we delivered, and we also had great giveaways, and we had a crowd around the booth, believe it or not. We also had existing clients that we asked, please bring these people over. Who we looking to talk to? They did a great job with that as well. If I were doing this today, the other thing that I would do is I would make sure that I got a lot of video and photographic footage. I want to create a slideshow. I want to create a landing page. I want something to commemorate the event so that when I do my email to the people after the fact, or you could even do this before the event, but I want to have something that's just going to make them comfortable about who we are and just really engage in our ecosystem. If I can give them video content that just puts them at ease and just lets them look to see if they see themselves in the video or whatever else, I'm cool with that. If they want to schedule time to talk with me, that's great. I might ask a question about, are you going to be at next year's conference, whatever else. But really, I just want to gauge how many people are actually going to get into my ecosystem, and I'm going to monitor that inside my CRM. When I'm at the booth, I'm going to use this right here. More than anything else, it's the best tool we all have. I'm going to take pictures of business cards because I have an app for HubSpot, our CRM, that will take that business card, put the information into HubSpot as a contact record, and then I can use my little voice to text, or I can use my thumbs to put the notes on that account in there so I know what's going on after the fact. I also have the ability to create an automation so that when that contact record's created from that specific campaign that we created inside the CRM, it's going to fire off an email to that person telling them how cool it was to meet them and look forward to catching up with them in the future and learning more about them. And guess what I'm going to put in there? Yo Calendly link. I want to let them have the opportunity to book some time with me if they want to do that proactively as opposed to me cold calling them. When the conference is over, I'm going to make a really, really big deal out of the winner. I'm going to announce it. It's going to go out to my email list. Everybody's going to see who they are. I'm going to try and pose with them. I'm going to try and get the person who's responsible for the entire conference to be in the picture so that they're in there too. Tag them, tag the association, use the hashtag for the conference, tag as many of my clients as I can and as many of my new prospects that I've connected with, and let them see all of that when I share it out to social media to really get some buzz and brand recognition around what we're doing. There are so many things that you can do around a trade show, but the one thing you have to do is you have to execute. Doesn't matter how great your plans are. It doesn't matter how grandiose your plans are. If you don't execute, you don't have anything at all. And the number one place that people miss is on the follow-up after the fact. If you're somebody who goes to trade shows, you can do all the pre-planning, execute at the event, but if you drop the ball when you get back, you're toast. You're not going to ever convert that into revenue. So I trust that everybody watching this picked something up from our contestants. I know I did. And I hope everybody had a great time. Until next week, kill or be killed. Next week on the Protege.
Thanks for the heads up. Always good to know.
And I got to be honest, that's been my big concern all along.
I opened up with the question that should catch the attention of my target market.
I felt like it should have been easy, but I made it hard.